Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast. Today, I'm going to do a bit of a review of the Six Practice Multipliers. This is something that I have spoken about on previous episodes, but right back really early on in the Marketing Your Practice podcast. And so I'm going to talk to you about some of the key distinctions that I've learned over the last 2 years. And I've got a whole bunch of new listeners anyway, so you guys might be hearing this for the first time. Now, before we get into that, I want to introduce you or remind you of this concept of strategy versus tactics. I'm guilty of this all the time when I'm looking for help, whether it be for me to learn more about marketing, whether it anywhere. I'm often looking for tactics. What do I need to do? In many cases, though, what I need to be thinking about is strategy. Now, I'm going to read a little bit of a quote here from Sun Tzu from The Art of War, somebody way more clever than me, with regards to what's the difference between strategy and tactics, because a lot of what we're talking about in today's podcast is going to be strategy. Here's what, in fact, this is what Rachel Smith says, and then we'll go into Sun Tzu in a moment there too. Strategy describes the destination and how you're going to get there, and tactics describes the specific action that you're going to take to get along the way, okay? Now, I muddled that up a little bit, so I'm going to say it to you again. Strategy describes the destination and how you're going to get there, and tactics describes the specific actions. In essence, man, I made a mouthful of that, and I was reading it too. So strategy is where we're going, and then tactic is the specific steps along the way. We have to decide, first of all, where we're going. What's our destination? What's the overarching principles that we're going to have moving forwards? We're going to be talking a lot about that today. Sun Tzu, I love this quote here. This is what he says. He says, strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory, and tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. So if you're just looking for the latest video tip, the latest marketing strategy, Facebook ad, internal referral programs, if you're trying to implement all these tactics without a strategy above, that's possibly one of the reasons why things aren't working for you. So let's take a step back. Let's build the foundations of the house. Let's go to the architect, the designer first. Let's get some drawings drawn up, and then we can take those to the builder and she can build this fabulous house for us. So I'm going to work my way through what I refer to as the Six Practice Multipliers and how you can use those as the strategy that this year will help you have and bring in a whole bunch more income into your practice, allow you to have more impact and influence. One of the things I really love about working with natural health practitioners, very few of us get into this as a job because we just want to make shitloads of cash. And you definitely can. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with making, loads of cash. But what most of us want is that we want impact as well. We want to make a difference. I mean, nobody becomes a chiropractor because it's easy. Every day I have people slinging nasty stuff at me. I've got to constantly justify my recommendations with my patients. But what I love about it is it's different. It's a different approach. And I know that it works so damn well. So anyway, let's get into it. Thing number one, in terms of the practice multipliers, is that we've got to be great at what we do. Regardless of everything else going forwards, if we can't actually help our patients get a result, if we're not actually good at helping sick people get well, then nothing else matters. We can wrap it up in pretty wrapping. But if I show you a way to bring a whole bunch more people into your practice, then what's going to happen from that is there are going to be a whole bunch more people that find out that you're not great at what you do. And nowadays, word spreads faster than ever. Some bad Google reviews, bad Facebook reviews, then before you know it, your entire community is going to know that you're lousy at what you do. So we have to be building from the foundation of being great at what we do. Now, I've got some questions that I think that might help you with regards to this. Although my experience is most of us judge ourselves really harshly with regards to this. We beat ourselves up. I mean, think back over the last, in my case, 22 years in practice. Think back of all the people that you have helped, remembering that we do have this negativity bias. That means our brain is going to more quickly remember, the 1, 2, 3, 5 people that haven't got results. I don't have a 100% success rate, but I got to reckon that probably 9 out of 10 people that come and see me get really good results there too. But, 1 out of 10 doesn't. And whether that's me as a practitioner, them as a person, or a combination of the two, it's hard to know. But here's some questions that if you're wanting to assess of, are you great at what you do? These are some questions that might help you kind of assess that too. Would you be happy with the service that you provide? Would you be happy seeing it's a good spot to start with as well? Are you certain when somebody comes in to see you, you do your initial consultation there too, provided that you're going to accept them with care, how certain are you that you can help them? Certainty is one of the foundational pillars of a really thriving practice. It's one of the reasons that I believe that Tony Ebel has been so successful in everything that he does, both the online stuff that he teaches, but certainly his work in practice as pediatrics, and then the work that he teaches other chiropractors in terms of the pediatric experience as well, is he just has rock solid certainty. John DeMartini, one of my earlier mentors, used to say the person with the most certainty wins ultimately. So how certain are you that you can help the person that's in front of you? Now, are you excited and enthusiastic about going into practice each day? Now, we all have down days. Earlier on in the year, I talked to you about one of the funky days that I had when I was going into practice. They don't happen often, and I don't expect you to be able to get up every day being, enthused, excited, over the moon about the work that you do. But the vast majority of days, are you excited to be in there as well? Have you completed some form of continuing education in the last 12 months? Now, I want to double tap on this one. Here in Australia, we have mandatory continuing education, and there have been years past where just to get my hours up, I've chosen whatever the easiest course is. And it's meant sometimes I've been doing courses that don't inspire me. They're not areas that are really relevant to me. So sometimes it might be on, identifying skin cancers. It's not a big part of what I do. Might be a relevant skill for me as a chiropractor. That's a debate for another time there. But what kind of continuing education are you sourcing? Are you finding out relevant content that you're really excited to learn and that will help your patients get an even better result there? So in the last 12 months, have you done some form of continuing education that you've actually chosen, that that's going to help you? Have you, again, updated your practice decor in the last couple of years? Now, again, environment makes a huge difference. When we walk into a beautiful restaurant, a nice cafe, a great shop, a hotel, when the environment is warm and reflects the quality of the service that to it, adds to that whole thing. It's part of what greatness actually is. And again, we need to be constant. And this doesn't mean that we need a complete update, but liquor paint, some new posters. These are things that you should be doing regularly in your practice there too. So are you regularly listening to, reading, content with the single focus of helping you help your patients get a better result? When was the last time that you read a book, listened to a podcast, did an online course? So this doesn't count. Okay, so and I'm very glad that you're listening to my podcast, but I'm going to teach you how to market better there too, but I'm not going to teach you how to be a better naturopath, chiropractor. This is not what this podcast, so you can't count this one. But what are you reading that's going to make you clinically be a better practitioner? Now that's something that you should be doing all the time. My major focus is here with the Marketing Your Practice podcast with a community influencer. So each and every week I'm reading a book, I'm listening to a podcast that helps me help you get better results. Each and every week I'm doing that. And I think that probably once a month you should be reading and engaging with that kind of content as well. Now, if you answered no to any of those, then the questions you asked no to is also the solution for you as well. So if you're not reading books, start reading books. If you haven't done any continuing education, then get started on some continuing education as well. So the foundation of you building a really thriving practice moving forwards, more impact, more income, more influence, has to begin with you being really great at what you do. The second thing to think about as well is you need to break through the noise. And the best way to break through the noise in your community is by focusing on one audience. So the social media platforms are busier now than they have ever been. And that's because of the number of people that are on there and engaging. It's really a bit like the property market. Once all the property's gone and if there's a lot of people trying to buy into the market, the prices go up. So organic reach on social media is continuing to go down. It's really a big turnaround in 2014. And it means that what the research tells us is that when you and my community are jumping online to blow off some time to distract themselves on the social media platforms, there are thousands of pieces of content waiting there for them. The queue of their friends, other advertisers. And when they get off the social media platforms, they're driving their car, there's advertisements, kind of billboards, listening to the radio, watching the television. So they're constantly bombarded. Now, the way the brain deals with this is it starts to kind of filter out anything and everything that looks like it's not for me. So when I look at it, I go, is this for me? Can it help me? Is this relevant to me? And if I answer no to any of those questions, then I develop a level of intentional blindness to it. We just don't see it there. Now, what I am looking for constantly when I'm online is I'm looking for things that can make a difference to me. I want to be entertained, inspired, and educated. And one of the human needs that we have is I also want to be understood. Now, here's the difference, is I feel like I'm different from the person next door. I feel like I'm different from the plumber down the street. I feel like my needs and wants are different from my 20-year-old daughter, my 18-year-old son. So the challenge when we try and communicate with everybody, because let me take a step just to the side. Chiropractic, many of the natural health practitioners that are listening to this, it's good for everybody. Like, who should go and see the dentist? Everyone. If you've got a set of teeth, you should go to see the dentist regularly. If you've got a spine, then a visit regularly to the chiropractor would be a good idea. But if I'm putting that message out to everybody, then no one listens to it. When you try and communicate with everyone, we end up communicating with nobody. So the best and most efficient way to break through the noise is to start by just communicating to a very specific audience. I'll give you an example of a guy in Sydney who did this really beautifully with his plumbing business. He was finding that it was hard to break through the noise and compete with all the other plumbers. So he started to position himself as the hot water service guy, those kind of machines. Now this will tell you about how poor my plumbing skills are there too, but we know what hot water services does. So he called himself the hot water service guy. He rebranded his website, he rebranded his business cards, he rebranded his van as well. And so when people were looking for problems for their hot water services, who are they going to go for? Joe the plumber or the hot water service guy? Now, here's what he noticed. His business skyrocketed. He had lots and lots of people that were reaching out to him for help with their hot water services. But he was really clever because he knew that he could help with a lot of other things. And so after he did a great job helping his clients with their hot water services, he also said to them, do you know what? We fix leaking taps and blocked toilets and blocked drains. And so any of your plumbing needs, if you have any of those problems going forwards, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And so a lot of the new business that came into him was all for the hot water services, but a lot of the ongoing business was repeat business because he did a great job fixing hot water services. He built relationships, and then he let his clients know that there are other ways that he could help them also. Now, this might be, to begin with, that your focus is on pediatrics, pregnancy. Maybe the work that you do great is digestion, hormone balance, fertility. Whatever it is, what you want to do is you want to start to position you and your practice as an authority in one area. This is what will really differentiate you from everybody else in town. That when you stand out and you're consistently showing up across the social media platforms and you're providing content that helps people, that's valuable for people there too, you will be positioned as an expert. That's a great way to break through all the noise, okay? So the second practice multipliers, break through the noise by focusing on just one audience there too. Now, the third one that I touched on this just beforehand is that really what you need to be doing is building trust. You need to be building authority and positioning yourself as an expert. Now, as the social media platforms have begun to develop and as marketers like myself and people way bigger than me have continued to ruin most platforms, what's continued to happen is trust has spiraling down. So trust now is an all-time low across all industries, whether it be online, whether it be through the television, through the newspapers, those kind of things. Now, if we're to build trust with our community, if we are to stand out, then we need to be generous. The content that we need to be providing is content that helps people get a result. What kind of result can you help people with? As I mentioned before, is it fertility issues? Is it immune system? Is it migraines? Is it headaches? You'll often hear me saying the single goal of your content is to get your audience one step closer to the health outcome they're looking for. Now, what this does is it initiates one of the pillars of influence called reciprocity. I've spoken about this in previous episodes. One of my favorite books, Influence by Robert Cialdini, talks about this as a really powerful human emotion. When somebody does something really nice for us, it's almost impossible for us not to reciprocate that, even when we don't like them as a person, okay? And I'm sure you've been in that situation where somebody's done something nice for you, you literally felt like you were in debt to them. It's like, I've got to kind of even things up now as well. We don't like to be in this kind of emotional or psychic debt. Now, again, we need to be doing this with the very best of intentions. When we add a level of manipulation into this as well, then your community will see through this. So we're being generous for the very sake of being generous. Or I'm reminded of one of my favorite quotes from a man who's had a huge impact on my life, Zig Ziglar. He says, if you can help enough other people get what they want, you'll get everything that you want as well. So this is being generous. So look back over the content that you've created over the last couple of weeks, at least the last 10 pieces, and ask yourself, how many pieces of these content are actually helping my audience get a result? get one step closer to the health outcome that they're looking for. Now, not all of your content needs to be doing that, because some of your content should be connection content, letting people see behind the curtains. Some of your content should be flat out promotional content, which is, hey, come in and see me. But probably 40 to maybe 60% of your content should be generous, helpful content, okay? It's often referred to by the great Frank Kern as delivering value in advance. So that's pillar number 3, build trust, authority, and expertise by delivering value in advance. Now, pillar number 4 of these 6 practice multipliers is really about being everywhere and playing the long game. And more than anything, I actually think it is this concept of playing the long game. Now this, in many cases, I'm going to mirror back to you the same thing that you're saying to your patients. I'm saying to my patients every week. I have patients coming in to see me. They're frustrated because their health has been spiraling out of control, sometimes over the last week, but often over the last decade. And they want results next week, preferably with one adjustment, but if they could have it with none, then that would be even better for them. And I have to sit down and connect with them, and with empathy and compassion say, hey, listen, this has taken you a long time to get into this state. And if it's been 10 years of spiraling health out of control, then you probably need to give me at least 10 months to help you get it back on track. Expecting to get results from your marketing next week, because you put a video out there and even if you boosted it, is unrealistic. You'll be frustrated. And it's just not how things work. It's almost out of integrity. If you're going to build a relationship, if you're going to build trust, then you need to show up consistently. So what Facebook continues to tell us advertisers is the amount of time that it takes somebody to make a buying decision continues to go up. And most recently, I read in around about that 43 days. So what that might look like is the first time somebody comes across your content online, you need to be really consistent with them over the first 6-7 weeks. And I think probably even longer. It's probably closer to 12 weeks of you showing up again and again and being helpful, delivering value in advance until finally they have the confidence in you to say, you know what, I'm going to get on the phone and give Angus a call, make an appointment. And so if you're not prepared to play the long game with this, the results that you'll get from your marketing are not going to be great. And in fact, what I see with the coaching clients inside Community Influencer, hey, listen, also, while I'm saying this, if you haven't come and joined me inside a Community Influencer, resistance is futile. Why are you holding back? A wonderful bunch of practitioners in there that we're all working together to really push forward natural health. A great bunch of chiropractors, naturopaths, podiatrists. If you're wanting a hand with your marketing, then come and join us. But here's what I find is that I'm seeing results now where somebody sticks at something for 12 months. The results are outrageous. You know, practices with waiting lists busier than they have ever been, even through these crazy COVID times. So we must be prepared to play the long game. You need to be really committed to your audience as well. So that's pillar number 4. Now on to pillar number 5 here as I scroll through the 2. This is about fostering lifetime relationships. And here I'm going with the relationships that you have with your existing patients also. And this is about, for me, when somebody comes and is a new patient in my practice, the mentality that I have, the thought process I have is that I want to be their chiropractor for life. And I realize there'll be times that they'll be active with care and times they'll be inactive with care. But I have systems inside my practice that means that we're constantly keeping in relationship, in communication with my patients, whether they be active or inactive. And so when I'm thinking about my marketing content and creating my videos, they're not just for me to be reaching new patients. They're all about me constantly engaging my existing patients also. In fact, that's probably more of my return financially from my videos and from my marketing is about retention and keeping the dialogue going between the two of us. So I look at these videos as constantly reminding my patients about why I'm valuable to them and how I can help them. And this is the concept of fostering lifetime relationships. Sadly, if all the patients that ever came to see me were still seeing me now, I'd have to work 24 hours a day, 8 days a week, and I could probably have another 5 chiropractors helping me and we still wouldn't be able to service them. There's a natural attrition that happens in practice. I'm not expecting that you be able to keep 100% of your patients all the time, but you do need to have a system in place that's constantly maintaining lifetime relationships. And as I mentioned before, creating videos that's continually adding value to not only your new audience, but your existing patients is a really fabulous way for you to be doing that as well. Now, the final one I want to leave you with here is this pillar number 6 through here is all about having a growth mindset. Carol Dweck, in her book by the same name, Mindset, she talks about there being 2 mindsets that really predict the success of somebody as an individual or the business, because these businesses can have these mindset as well. She talks about a fixed mindset and she talks about a growth mindset. Now, if you're new to this concept, then reading the book, there's not many books that you'll hear from me say this is essential reading, but this one book from Carol Dweck called Mindset, she's a psychologist from Stanford, super clever lady. The fixed mindset, in essence, when we have a fixed mindset, we have a belief system that says that the level of intelligence and skills that I have now will be what I have throughout life, that I can't become more intelligent, and that learning new skills is very difficult and or impossible. This, as you can imagine, leads to a real stagnation. It means that we're not wanting to try new things because what's the point anyway? It's not like I can learn a new skill like making a video, editing a video, marketing, doing a Facebook Live. Now, the opposite of this is what she refers to as a growth mindset. Now, there's some confusion is because a growth mindset doesn't mean that things are necessarily easy, but it's the way we look at them. Inside her book, which I found really fascinating, they gave a bunch of really difficult puzzles and or maths questions to toddlers, young kids, and then they watched them really struggle with these. And the kids with the growth mindset afterwards came and said, oh, wow, that was really difficult. It was so exciting. That's what they said. You know, what kind of things are you saying to yourself when you're trying to learn maybe to use that new app on your phone to shoot a video, edit a video, or you're trying to learn how to boost a video to get it out to more people in your community? Are you telling yourself that this is really exciting, that you're learning something new? Or are you telling yourself that, maybe this isn't for me. I'm too old for this. I'm too busy. This will never work anyway. Now, the interesting thing is that we can have parts of our life where we have a really beautiful growth mindset, and we can have parts of our life where we have that fixed mindset. I had a fantastic guy that I'm coaching at the moment. I really love working with this guy. In one area of his life, particularly with his health and fitness, he has this beautiful growth mindset. And because of that, for his age, he has elite level fitness, extraordinary things there too. And then some areas inside of his practice, he has these real fixed mindsets. So, you know, there are areas in our life where we're growth, and the areas in our life where we have a fixed mindset as well. So if you're to get your way through all of these 6 pillars that I've spoken about, it's really important that you do have that growth mindset, that you understand that there are going to be difficulties and obstacles along the way. And you need to learn how to rejoice with those. We need to get good at dealing with feedback, because sometimes you'll make a video and no one watches it. Sometimes you make a video and someone might say something stinky about it there too. But we have to take this feedback on, learn from it, and move forwards. So they are the 6 practice multipliers, the 6 pillars as well. Let me just give you a quick summary of those as we finish forwards. Thing number 1 is that we need to be really great at what we do. That's the foundation on which a really successful, thriving practice. If we want more income, if we want more impact and influence, it needs to be built on the basis of being really great at what you do. Thing number 2, principle number 2, pillar number 2, is that you need to be able to break through the noise. And the best way to do that is begin by focusing just on one audience to begin with. Position yourself as an expert, and then we take that, we parlay that on, and as we start to build these relationships, we can share with our audience all the other fantastic things that we can help them with as well. Pillar number 3 is we need to build trust, authority, and expertise by delivering value in advance. Remember, that's what initiates that concept of reciprocity. Thing number 4 there that we talked about as well is about playing the long game. Remember, this is a process. I've heard it referred to, this is farming as opposed to hunting. Now, it doesn't look like when you begin a farming process and you're planting your orchard out there, not a lot happens for the first few years, but then when it's up and going, you can go out and grab an apple whenever you want. This won't take you years to start to get your fruit, the new patients, but it will take weeks and probably months for you to get a result too. So you need to be prepared that that's the case as well. Foster lifetime relationships. Make sure that you're doing the best you possibly can to have your attention and your reactivations high, have systems built around that. And then finally, what you should have is a growth mindset. Gang, that's it from me. We've talked a lot about strategy. There've been some inklings of some tactics inside of there also. Hey, if this has been helpful, can I ask a favor? Can you leave me a review, a star rating, and even better, can you tell me some thoughts about the podcast? If you've got any questions about this, then reach out to me on any of the socials. I love to help with this stuff there too. And if you want to learn a heart-centered way to start reaching out to your community, mostly by making videos, I'd love to help you. Come and join me inside of Community Influencer. Till next time, gang, thanks for all that you do. Keep saving lives. I love you lots. Bye. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out the Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work one-on-one with you to apply, implement, systematize, and help guide you and your practice to the next level. Now you can join me on over at addiomedia.com/join. That's addiomedia.com/join. I'd love to see you in there.